Hi there. China's residency registration system, known as Hukou, not only includes identifying information, but also creates connection with the social welfare based on people's birthplace. On April the 8th, China's National Development and Reform Commission announced a new policy to relax the existing residency restrictions and encourage 100 million rural citizens to move into cities. What effect will this reform have? What are the concerns about such a large population movement? What can we expect as China's urbanization continues? To discuss these issues and more, I'm very happy to be joined in the studio by Wang Huiyao, President of the Center for China and Globalization, and He Jing, attorney at Angie Law Firm. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Ray. Huiyao and Jing, let's first take a closer look at what the NDRC plan says. According to the new policy, cities with a population of between 1 million and 3 million will remove the restrictions of the existing residency registration system to encourage 100 million rural citizens to move to cities. What's your view towards this new Hukou policy, Harry?
Well, I think it's a really a great step forward. Actually, a number of years ago, I think NDRC also issued something like, within 1 million, that's a restriction. Now it's up to 3 million and even up to 5 million. I think this is really in time to stimulate the domestic economy, consumption, and what's more, I think it also shows the equality between rural and urban. And I think that China's the population dividend is declining, and also we have to tap into talent dividend, and also I think the economy of scale, the urbanization that probably will be still the drive of next China's growth, and then this measure by NDRC is extremely important to stimulate domestic consumption, development, and I think most of all is really to liberate, let's use that word, to 100 million rural migrants to the city. Of course, a lot of them are already in the city. Now they have a legal status. Now they can enjoy the social benefit. Now they can have their children settle down. And so it's really, I think it's a really remarkable and wonderful step forward, and that China and all the local government will benefit, and particularly this 100 million rural migrant that government had in mind.
Now, I think that this could have happened earlier. The NDRC had this plan roadmap in place back in 2014, and they were talking about this. And the last couple of years, we have seen all the news. Some of the large, actually lots of large cities always come up or sort of localize the policy to attract, especially like university students, right, to get this residency registration and then live in that city. That's already happening now. But this is the final move, finally in place. Is sort of actually probably really demanded by the current situation. China, lots of people are moving to the larger cities and the big, huge cities. For those larger ones, they really probably need more residents. Finally it's happening.
But the issue by the end of the day, Harry and Jing, is whether these small cities are ready to accept such a big number of students, be they university graduates or rural workers. In other words, migrant workers who would of course be very anxious to be registered as urban dweller. However, in terms of medical care, education opportunities, do you think these small and medium-sized cities with a population between 1 million and 3 million are really ready?
Well, I think it's probably yes and no. First of all, I think this is probably the beauty of this China path, that with a highly centralized government giving an order, that if this is well researched, thought about, I think this policy, if it's right on the right ground, and then that really can generate a lot of positive impact. And I think that the government, of course, I'm sure not all of them are ready, but that's exactly what the government wants to do, to force them ready. By taking this kind of measure, that they can be more ready, and then in the process, they all, their service can come up. They have to widen the resources of how to compensate all the social benefit that the gap they may have. So I think that it's really a great thing. That and I think that also the government is already very capable in many areas, so they can have actually tighten their budget and cut the losses, cut the fat. Unnecessary spending, and then maybe stimulate the population dividend, talent dividend. that actually going to generate more revenue, more tax income for the government. So maybe they have a short-term, slowing down or something, but then in the long run, this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Well, the official line of a government which has been known for its consistency of the planning since day one of the PRC is very important. However, look at the attitudes of real estate developers. They are very reluctant to make investment in the construction of properties in the third and fourth tier cities, because they would have to look at the intention of university graduates who really believe opportunities are abundant in first tier cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, instead of in the third and fourth tier cities. So they don't want to make investment in the underdeveloped, small, medium-sized cities. In that case, what can be used to really attract talented students, university graduates?
It's probably going to be hard, right, to attract the young people, young talent.
What I say is that the central planning is wishful thinking, perhaps, for some people. It's the conditions are not ready yet. But Henry gave a very, very rosy picture, an encouraging one, about the feasibility of the policy options. What are your thoughts?
I actually agree with Henry, okay, and I think the policymakers have to make this move. They want to see how it goes, especially to see whether the rural residents will really move into the cities, okay. The university, the college students, probably not the story, okay. The younger generation, if they have opportunity, they probably prefer to work in the Beijing, Shanghai, those large cities, or the nearly very large city like Chengdu, this kind of places. But the truth, probably the focus of this policy is to attract more of the people from the rural area to move into the larger cities. Now, coming back to your earlier question, whether the government is ready or not, this is exactly, I think, probably the purpose of this policy. They want to force the local government to increase spending. And I'm pretty sure the central government has some of the tax policy or fiscal policy. They have to give funding to local government. Plus, we're all watching all these years when China going to impose the property tax. That's probably give the perfect reason to do that.
Small and medium-sized cities with a population of between 1 and 3 million would probably jump on the wagon, catch up with allegations, look, we are ready. And so there could be bubbles in the housing prices, creating a situation, look, this is a kind of a boom, yet this is very deceptive. Mm-hmm. And do you think that there will be a lot of opportunists to seize this opportunity and create a scenario?
Yes, I do. For example, I think I can give examples. For example, in Guangdong, there's many cities below, 3 million, like Fushan, or maybe, probably similar to Dongguan or Zhuhai. Those cities, they already have a large population which have not local residency, local Hukou, right? And then now, I think with this kind of policy, then the local government unconditionally have to give those people already living in those cities, contributing, have a work there, have a paying tax, have a salary, be legalize their Hukou status. But the challenge is actually, I think, for other small cities, not in the local, so coastal cities. I think there's another way is that we have to really, if we liberate 100 million population from rural land to the cities, we should also give them the startup capital as well. So that their household land in the rural area should be able to transact, not just within the village, but to the market, so that they can get the first bucket of the starting capital, so they can actually buy the third-hand, fourth-hand apartment in the cities, so they can take a loan and they can live a real urban life, rather than just in the name they have been liberated and then they have a Hukou. Now, but then if they don't have the startup capital, if their household land in the rural area still growing grass there.
That would be huge reform. That probably require the changes of the constitutional law.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That has to come up. So I think this is the right move in the right direction. Is that this 100 million people movement will trigger the further thinking, how we can better liberalize the rural migrant. Now, even for 200 million, in a government plan for that, and then we have to come up with the next stimulus for the next 4 decades. What are the major, policy dividend? For example, in China, in the first 10 years we had, contracting land. Second 10 year we had the urban house liberated. Third 10 decades we had the join WTO. Now we're in the 4th decade. What are the biggest policy dividend that we can have? So I think that this transaction of the household land and liberate 100 million people into the city is really has to be combined.
And there's a big story actually behind the release of this NDRC policy to encourage a free flow of labor force from rural areas to the more prosperous urban areas. That is President Xi Jinping's vision to completely alleviate all the people from impoverished areas by the year 2020. You are watching Dialogue with Henry Wang Huyao, President of Center of China Globalization, and He Jing, attorney at Angel Law Firm. We are discussing the process of urbanization and the challenges for university graduates to get jobs in underdeveloped, small, medium-sized city. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. See, there is a discrepancy, I'm afraid, a gap between encouraging farmers to come into the urban areas and the policy incentives to attract talented students from say, prestigious universities like Peking University, Tsinghua University, Renmin, Fudan, Jiaotong. These are two entirely different policy options, but Henry may disagree with me. Let's look at the issue of rencai, talented people or professionals. You have been studying this issue for a number of years since the inception of CECG. What does that mean for the sustainability of the Chinese economy?
You're right. I think that the last 2 years we see a new phenomenon of all the urban centers fighting for talent, and there's a domestic talent war going on, so to speak. And then we have all those government fighting for the college graduates. But we have actually studied. There's already a lot of talent. How to define if they're highly skilled, if they are master of some product or category of technology and processing. They could be classified as skilled labor, as also as a type of talent. So we have a lot of people like that, even domestic workers, a nurse, and all those, we are badly needed in a lot of cities. So they should be granted the local, Hukou, a legitimate status to stay in the cities. They are not. Whereas now the old government was trying to chase the fresh graduates of the college student, like you said, you're from Peking, all those famous universities. But that's not realistic. It's, also 4 years college graduate doesn't mean they are already talent. So there are a lot of proven 5 working years above skilled labor in many Guangdong cities and across China should be really absorbed and given them a legal status, Hukou, stay in the city. So I think we should have have to do 2 things. One is that we need to really, second and third tiers to attract talent from large centers like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. And then also they should really solve the people already in the city who are 5 years working experience, 10 years working experience, still have, because they don't have a college degree, they cannot be classified as a talent, but they are really skilled labor that we can live without. So the other thing we should really looking for international talents. We should have international talent attraction coming to the Beijing, Shanghai, whereas the population of international talents in China is extremely low, probably the lowest in the world, 0.4%. So we need more of that. So I think there's two coins to everything.
But I think there is a fine distinction about what is talent. Okay, the college students are different from PhD students. Right now, the current policy change is really about attracting more of the population, ideally educated population. But I agree with you that whether that be a sufficient incentive for the so-called talent or educated people to move into a city, that's totally different. I know in my team, I work with a bunch of young lawyers, okay? Some of them are college graduates, even with a master's degree in laws. They actually recently told me they got the Hukou from Shenzhen, okay? Because Shenzhen has a special policy to encourage the student with a graduate degree, with a master's degree. So much easier for them to get a Hukou there. But where they're working, they're working in Beijing. That might be still happening. You might see more of the fresh college graduates, they get a Hukou in some of the smaller cities. They get the benefits in terms of getting the hospital or maybe the buying the house for the parents, but it may still work in the biggest cities like Beijing.
This year, we're going to see a graduation of up to 13 million university students. That's a lot.
8 million. 8 some million.
Probably we have to provide
30 million jobs. Yes, that's right. Yes.
8 million would graduate from universities and colleges. Given the downward economic pressure, Do you think we are facing a similar problem that Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India faces in this election year? That is the creation of jobs to live up to the expectations of those who really want to enjoy the decency of the middle class civil society. He Jing, do you think this is a mission impossible and we're going to face huge social problems as a result?
I think it's going to be challenging. Okay, I think it's going to be challenging, especially when you're looking at the adoption of all sorts of new technologies. We know that the advanced technology is not that friendly to, the human labor, right? They're more displaced. I actually just saw a report from the LinkedIn earlier today. This is even a bigger problem for like the United States. The younger generation, the millennials, having a bigger trouble in terms of getting the nice jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I think that you're right. That we're facing the downward pressure of the economic slowing down and the trade tensions and all the rest. But actually, we really need a big dividend, policy dividend. As I said, every 10 years China has a policy dividend.
Policy incentives.
Yeah, policy incentives. So what I think now, this is really, that's why I'm so glad that the government is now finally jumped this ahead now with this 100 million population, in mind to move them from rural to urban, which is probably one of the biggest achievement in the mankind if that can be done smoothly. But we got to have the policy, in couple with that. So we have to have the rural reform. We should have the household land, be able to transact, so that we can support the people moving around from rural. So I think that has to become, and if that is really coming, I think we still got several hundred million people living in the rural area, and if that has actually happened, urbanization rate is only about less than 60%, which means we have about 700 million people living in the rural area, and then if we can remove another 300 million to the urban, so we can have China can have 800 million middle class. That would be incredible. That is the next 4 decades a target for China. And
I think,
really,
but the
really,
challenge
yeah.
probably is the labor cost.
Mm-hmm.
Having more people, more labor available in the market does not necessarily mean like a cheaper labor cost. We know that more of the Chinese companies, actually even leading manufacturers, they're actually going to the Southeast Asia to get maybe better, cheaper labors. In China, that's not necessarily true, right? Even with so many fresh graduates available, it does not mean the salary is going to go down. It's probably even going to go up.
Well, I hope that there's China is such a fascinating country. You got a lot of new work mode or new work type coming up. Like, who can imagine a few years ago there's 40 million, delivery boys in China, right? That's incredible. And then you have so many new industry and the new absorbing power of that. The nursing industry, we haven't really seen anything happen yet. And then China is aging. So there's, and also with this Belt and Road, we're going to see a lot more Chinese going abroad. Now we have 150 million people going abroad to travel, but going abroad to work and to collaborate. There's also a new trend that is coming up. So I think there's many ways that we can better use this population dividend that we still have.
These years saw the enlargement of enrollment programs for universities, and there are far more graduates than jobs available in the job market. But what do you think of things that we can learn from Germany, where a vocational school education proves more important for the labor force with good skills instead of having postgraduates, PhD degree holders? Yes, the glow of the academic degrees is fine, but what is needed badly at the local level, we are talking about cities with 1 million and 3 million population. They actually don't need so much brilliant students from Peking University with PhD degrees. They need people with working skills. In Germany, they are very practical. They don't talk so much about, PhD students of philosophy, humanity, arts, phenomenon. They talk about working skills. So do you think this is badly needed for China, He Jing?
I think there's always a demand for the skilled workers, especially consider one of our engine is the manufacturing sectors. But as far as I know, China has already developed quite a good vocational training schools, especially in those the eastern coastal area, there's a good supply, but of course there's always escalating. There's always like increasing demand for better workers. Now it's really up to the university to really work out how they can make sure, right, they can supply the right kind of the talent to the market. Actually, I was talking to one of my team member talking about, hey, what we can do to actually help out his girlfriend. You know, it's going to be the fresh graduates. There's a lot of college students, they don't really know what to do at this moment. They got a good degree, but where they're going to go to.
Harry, earlier, Jing put his finger on an interesting issue about the relocation of R&D centers from China to other low-income economies on our periphery in Southeast Asia, for example. Does that mean that our process of industrialization has been exhausted after their success in the first and second-tier cities? But what about economic stories in the underdeveloped hinterland, such as Tibet, Gansu, Qinghai, Ningxia? In these places, do you think more assembly lines would have to be created to attract workers with skills as the second stage of industrialization? I mean, everybody's talking about Industrial 4.0 and 2025 5G area. However, what about further industrialization in the underdeveloped areas?
Absolutely. I think that
labor-intensive manufacturing is still needed in China.
You're right. I mean, first you mentioned about the vocational workers. I mean, Premier Li has said at the working report at NPC that China this year is going to have 1 million new students enrolled in the vocational school. So that's a great movement. But as far as the West, remote provinces are concerned, I think that we haven't heard much nowadays about expand the Great West or construct the Great West. But that's really needed, because even in countries like Canada, when they have the investor program, you have a central provinces, a remote province, they have policies totally different from Quebec, British Columbia, or Ontario. So China should design different programs, particularly those western remote provinces, so that they can have a lower threshold. For example, the green card in Shanghai, you have to annual salary about 600,000. In Beijing, it's 500,000. In Guangdong, it's 400,000. Can we have 200,000 in Gansu or 100,000 in Tibet? That's possible. So let's have a differentiating among different provinces, so that we have, attract people to working there. And also, I'm sure, if someday we'll do, because if we have enough university or a school there, if we have a lower housing, particularly the industry, if they give the business people community a decent incentive to attract them there, it should be able to do so. Like Chengdu is a brilliant example. It's also a western city, but it's probably one of the top tier cities now in China.
Right. Zhengzhou would be another great example too.
You guys have been talking about civilized cities, but what about the populace saying that the 投资不过上海关? Investment would never go beyond the Shanghai Guan, because the very poor, appallingly poor and underdeveloped business civilization in the three northern provinces, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning, really put shame on the local economic performance. No serious investment would really go there because of the corruption, the shortage of labor force, and aging population. So, but in these three provinces, so you do have the nostalgic stories about the first 5-year plan, where it meant the first success story since the founding of the PRC. However, today it's basically a wasteland.
I think this has to do a lot with geopolitical thing, because you see why the Guangdong is developed. Guangdong is close to adjunct to Hong Kong and Macau, and then there's no major big countries threatening China. But then you have this northeastern Japan, Korea, and North Korea. So the geopolitical is actually really,
But you do have a capital-intensive investment from Japan and ROK.
Yeah.
What about the nuclearization program in the DPRK? I mean, is that a threat for?
No, I don't think so. No, we all know that in China, the local officials play a huge, big role, right? The mayor of that city is like a CEO of the whole company. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, in the northeastern area, all the CEOs failed, didn't do the job right, in a way. If you look at some inland city like Zhengzhou, right? Zhengzhou 10 years ago, hey, nobody can actually expect it to grow this way, but someone did a great job, right? Even Foxconn and many other manufacturing facilities are willing to move over there.
You know why? Because the Premier Li came from Henan. He was the party secretary of Henan and Liaoning, and there's the population dividends in Henan.
That's a good CEO. That's an extraordinary CEO. Did a great job.
Known for good corporate governance as the governor of the province.
But I think one of the main, actually I still believe that one of the main reasons is, we are sitting on a golden ball, actually. We're looking for something to feed us. I mean, this North Asia, China, Japan, Korea, even some part of Russia, it's really very industrialized places, very advanced region in the world. I mean, we have Northeast three provinces has a heavy history and on those industrialization. China industrial, birthplace. So we should really use in all those places, particularly transformation of Japan, a lot of technology to China, and then Northeast can absorb that. And then if we use that well, if we have a great relation with Japan, Korea, I'm sure the Northeast will take off again. Is that the geopolitical uncertainty actually made a lot of people undecided.
We marvel
Our future
at
premier will come out from that area.
We really marvel at Henry's vision for a geopolitical scenario. But very quickly, currently China has only achieved up to 58% of the urbanization rate. Do you believe zero threshold urbanization or Hukou policy would encourage a scenario of up to at least 80% of the urbanization in the near future? Very quickly before we conclude.
Oh, absolutely. I hope that we can.
At least 80%.
I hope we can abolish them gradually. Whenever we have able to do it, we should do it.
What's your prescription?
Of course it will. I mean, it will increase. The urbanization will definitely go up. That's
we are
needed
constantly
by
optimistic about a complete elimination of the household registration system, which serves as a major barrier that prevents talented professionals from coming to the prosperous areas. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Dialogue. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.